What sound or noise do you hate?
The start of a Christopher Walken impression. Whoa, like that. I hate that.
My
when somebody's about to launch into that, I hate that.
What?
Like that. Like, because it's like
Time.
you're in for several minutes of something that's not funny.
Hey, it's Herbert. And you're listening to the About Last Night podcast, you slippery little son of a bitch.
About last night.
Hey guys, Adam Ray here. Welcome back to the About Last Night podcast. If you haven't watched the show before, click subscribe right here. If you have, thank you for coming on back. This is where you get the full episodes, clips, and all that extra podcast jazz. Today's episode is a banger. Jesse Joyce, writer of the Jimmy Kimmel Live show, comedian, and now author of the new book, Killing the Guys Who Killed the Guy Who Killed Lincoln, a nutty story about Edwin Booth and Boston Corbett. Holy shit. This is a bonkers story and an even crazier, hilarious historical book written by Jesse. The origin story of how he wrote this story is insane. You'll hear all about it in this episode. We talk Lincoln, we talk Trump, we talk Kimmel, we talk Greg Giraldo, who brought Jesse and I together when I hosted for Jesse and Greg at the Irvine Improv in 2010. And it's just a fun episode. Stories for days. Jesse's a gangster in the business, originally from Pittsburgh. And his new book is one you should go get. And I'm going to have Jesse tell you where you can get that book right here.
Oh, yeah, if you want to get it.
Yeah.
So, I have a code. You just go try.scribd. Scribd is spelled SCRIBD. Try.scribd.com/Jesse Joyce, and you get a free 2-month subscription to check it out.
Thanks, Jesse. Follow Jesse on Instagram and Twitter right there. Follow me at Adam Ray Comedy on TikTok, on TwitTwalk, Threads, and IG. Follow the podcast at ALN Podcast. Tour dates, oh, baby. This week, where am I? I'll tell you where I am. I'm with Sal Vulcano in Georgia, Macon, Georgia, Athens, and Savannah with Sal Vulcano. Come out and see us. Tickets at salvulcanocomedy.com. Vegas, thank you very much for coming out. The shows at the Laugh Factory were phenomenal, and I thank you for coming out and bringing the fun vibes. A lot of tour dates coming up for the rest of the year. San Diego, D.C., and a few more dates with Sal in Chicago before 2024 shows its head. All the ticket information at adamraycomedy.com. Of course, check out the Dr. Phil Bill Burr interview right here. And, wow, October 17th, big show. Dr. Phil live at the Comedy Store with Adam Devine and Honors Home. Tickets at comedystore.com for that. And, of course, check out the Jeremy's House special on my YouTube channel, also filmed at the Comedy Store. Out right now. Check that out. And I think that's it. All your Adam Ray merch at adamraycomedy.com. Tickets there as well. But now, enjoy a brand new episode of the About Last Night podcast with the one and only Jesse Joyce. Welcome back to the show, my man.
Hey.
Jesse Joyce in the house. Writer, comic, father, actor?
No, I mean, I do like little shitty bits on Kimmel.
On Kimmel.
But
Like
just because I'm a
you're there.
writer there, yeah. So, or people, like as a goof, will pitch me in the bit, so.
So your IMDb page is pretty scarce.
Yeah, it was supposed to, like, I played just like a looming, gangly monsters a lot, so like I've done like Bigfoot and like fucking.
Wait, in something
Texas.
non-Kimmel?
No, like
okay.
on Kimmel, whenever like somebody writes a bit and they're like, we need like a terrifying hulking presence. Because, like, writers are all, like, kind of soft little dorks, most of them.
Yeah.
And I'm 6'4", and so, like...
You're kind of an anomaly.
Like, so it's just, I always get roped into, like, hey, you be Michael Myers, or you be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy, or you be
funny.
Bigfoot, or whatever. So, like, I'm always just these, like by writer standards, I'm enormous,
right.
So, yeah.
I will say this. There is something about the strike, the writer strike ending, that I think has made, and we were just talking about this before we started, that's made... Well, you were saying that, Seth Meyers said what about the
No,
show?
it wasn't Seth Meyers. It was his head writer. Had a joke on Twitter that was I will never again take this job for granted until Monday at lunchtime, which, like, was what it felt like, was just that we were all, like, so thrilled to be back, and then kind of immediately it was like, fuck, I got a lot of work to do. You know, like it was immediately like kicking into these bits that, like I have some like, you know, dumb like game on the street with like Hollywood Boulevard weirdos, you know, and they were like, "Is that ready to go?" And I'm like, "I don't even remember what the fuck it is." Like, you know,
wow,
like all this stuff that was like pitched like 5 months ago. You know what I mean? And like, so I had to watch me in rehearsal doing the bit and go like, "Oh yeah, oh right, that thing, yeah, sure, I remember that, yeah, of course."
Which game is that? The whole...
Oh, it's like a new thing that we haven't done yet, but it's like incredibly stupid and just like very easy. But it's really more about like finding, you know, Hollywood Boulevard goofs.
How great of a luxury is it to have your show, the Jimmy Kimmel Live show, on the Boulevard, where you have
that's one way to look at it.
The
sure,
airport,
yeah,
you know, of who's who. I mean, the Boulevard, the Vegas airport, and maybe a comedy club, I think, is the most diverse group of people you're going to find on the planet.
Yeah, you just have to recognize it is also the workplace I have to go to every day.
Right.
And like,
so you're saying,
so I got to walk out of my building over to the studio and like walk past like 100 Elmos that reek of urine, and then like kind of navigate this gauntlet of dipshits trying to take a picture of Winnie the Pooh's star, which like it's like,
wait, Pooh has a star?
Yeah, of course yeah, sure, he's a famous
what
cartoon bear. But like the point, like I'll even give
Joe
it to
Jonas
you.
doesn't.
Does he? Probably not. I don't know. Well, you got to pay for it too. You know that, right? You got to buy your own star. Yeah. Yeah, you have to like pay for it and like maintain it. You got to pay like an annual thing to maintain your star.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's like a thing. So, like, I'm not saying it's a scam, but the point is like, fine, if you come from like, you know, whatever, Tulsa, and you desperately like are like a Burt Reynolds fan, and then you see his name on the sidewalk, like, sure, okay, take a picture of that.
Yes,
that's still dumb because it's just literally his name on a sidewalk.
Yep.
But okay,
guarantee you're never looking back at that photo.
To like Winnie the Pooh, like Donald Duck's star, they'll just like, oh my god,
wow,
you know, like,
what type
Bethany,
of person
get
is
over
that?
here, it's Donald Duck's star, and they all like take pictures of this fucking piece of sidewalk with Donald Duck's name on it, and that's in my way because I have to bustle back and forth down the sidewalk. So you know, yes, it is like a real gem to be able to find goofballs on the street when we're doing bits, but you know, the daily gauntlet of trying to navigate around that can also get
exhausting.
Exhausting, but it's fine. So,
some of those
I'm already complaining. I'm like, it's week 1 of me having a job again, and I don't mean to be like, I'm very happy.
No, there's a difference between complaining and comedically venting.
Yeah, sure.
And you're observing, you're doing what your job is.
Right.
Observe and report.
Yeah.
And also, when you have again been gifted the Boulevard as your, you know, walkthrough. I mean, there's got to be things.
I've written for the Oscars a couple times. I always think it's very funny when the VO, like Voice of God thing, will announce like, we'll be right back with the Academy Awards live from Hollywood and Highland. Like they say Hollywood and Highland, like it's this glamorous, like,
oh no,
oh my God,
there's
Hollywood
a
and
guy
Highland.
jerking off on another guy,
that's what I mean.
jerking off onto Elmo's costume.
Yeah, it's like you can always find a pizza box with poop in it, like on
pizza box with poop in it, or a sandal with cum on it. That's Hollywood and Highland, and that should be what it is.
So that's what. Yeah, that's exactly. I even pitched a joke for the Oscars. It was like, you know, to get the Voice of God to go like, you know, we'll be right back with the Oscars live right next door to the Walgreens where somebody's always shouting, like, because that's what it's like.
Yeah,
like,
dude. Yeah,
so.
We'll be right back with Selma Blair, Selma Hayek, Kerry Washington, and potentially a fight between SpongeBob and a guy dressed as Jack Sparrow. Who wins the string cheese? Who wins the Oscar for best actor? We'll find out.
Yeah. So
right?
So it's like, it's funny because it's like that one day of the year, it's like the most glamorous place in America.
No way.
And then the rest of the time, it's just like
people don't even know what Hollywood and Highland is.
It's the Times Square of Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah.
Yeah, the knockoff version.
Which I also worked in years and years ago.
Times Square?
I was a waiter at Planet Hollywood like 25 years ago, very briefly. And so I'd have to run that gauntlet too of like, you know, mentally ill Cookie Monsters to get to work, you know? Like, so.
What's worse, the Times Square or the Hollywood Boulevard, you know?
I know it's tough. Like,
they each got their own flavor, right?
I'd see. It's hard to tell, like, because I was a younger guy, so I don't know if I was just not attuned to the potential dangers. You know what I mean? I was in my early 20s.
You're a little more aloof.
And then, you know, now I'm a father of 2 in my 40s. So I feel like that's an unfair. It's not a scientific,
right?
Because, like, you know, I don't know. Am I more afraid of
probably
peed on Elmo.
Yeah.
Because I'm in my 40s and I have shit to lose.
I think you're more afraid of
You know?
pee in general as you get older.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, but also when you have kids, like you're much more comfortable around urine.
Gotcha.
So like there is that. So like
Okay,
my bed is pissed in a lot more, like more now that I have a 4 and a 6-year-old than any time since I got sober 18 years ago. There was a lot that like so
Wow.
that's been. So
Did you ever
it's a
wet the
nice
bed
trajectory.
from drinking?
Oh sure, of course.
think,
yeah. Like you don't quit drinking like if you don't piss the bed. You know what I mean? That's one of the.
Didn't Greg Giraldo have a great bit about? I want to say it was on Good Day Across the River about. I don't know if it was peeing. It was the bit about coming home drunk and still wearing your motorcycle.
Oh
helmet.
yeah.
But I want to say there
Yeah.
was a pee in the bed joke in there somewhere, but maybe not.
He was like naked wearing a motorcycle
That's what.
helmet. in
Okay,
bed.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just
So,
assumed nude
yeah.
in bed, urine
Yeah,
is
he
shortly behind.
he may have.
Man, pee in the bed. I think I want to say I did it in college.
Okay. Someone came in, a drunk girl one time I was like living on a floor with a bunch of people. She came into my room looking for she was on the wrong floor.
No.
And came in and peed in my bed and then left. Like, so that was it was a
Get
really
the
confusing.
fuck
Yeah. So that happened one time. So it was mysterious. I don't know who it was.
That's like when someone gets in your car and mistakes it for an Uber
Yeah.
and then pees in your car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done that too. Like but like I've like tried the door handle of someone else's
I've gotten
car when they're in
fully
the
in.
driver's seat.
I'll give you the responses I've gotten from the drivers when I've gotten in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Only out of the 5 times I've probably done it in however long Uber's been around. I want to say coming up on probably 10 years, right?
Something. Yeah.
And 4 out of the 5 times it was this. Hey, what the fuck, man? And then the one time it was, whoop. What are you doing? And I was like, oh, shit. Oh, you're not Adam? He was like, nah. And the guy, thankfully, was baked out of his mind, so I think he was more like,
Sure.
confused that it probably wouldn't have been too far off for him to shortly after that be like, have you been here the whole time? Because he didn't look like he knew that he was driving.
Yeah. He might just go like, oh, shit, I forgot I'm supposed to drive you home. Yeah. So, that's fun.
Wait, how has a lot of questions here?
Sure.
Being a dad.
Yeah.
How has that? Your
Congratulations on getting married. But
Oh, thanks,
I noticed your wedding ring.
Yeah.
I mean, I texted you about
yes,
that, but
coming up on
nice to see you.
a year.
yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Kids are
Fucking
probably
big
shortly
news.
around the corner.
For real?
I think so.
Okay.
We go back and forth,
Yeah.
and I've been heavily pitched by a handful of comics in the last couple months.
To
do it.
They're leaning toward yes.
Yeah, they're
Do
just
they
like,
have
what?
kids?
Oh yeah, they're just
Okay.
like, why aren't you doing it? I don't think I've only ever met one person who truly is like, I want my old life back.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a bummer.
yeah, totally.
Okay.
But he also, I think, was saying that a little bit for dramatic effect.
Right.
He seems tired,
Yeah.
but he just was like, he's like, dude, every other day I feel like I'm gonna take one of them to the hospital because like one of them's shoving a car up their ass. I'm like,
Yeah,
is Steve-O
sure.
your kid? And
Yeah.
then
No. They all do that.
they all do that.
Yeah.
And he just seemed like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I was like, I feel like you have to if they're all still alive. And
Yeah.
I know, and I'm like, you're pretty competent, like from just knowing you these past few years. But yeah, I don't know. How has it changed your comedy, and how has it changed, I guess, going back to work now? Because I'm sure there was a little bit of I don't know, like getting to spend that much time with them, right? Was pretty.
Yeah. Well, weirdly, I mean, like it was the COVID was kind of strike training wheels in a way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it was like, I mean, I was lucky enough that we got to work through COVID from home. You know, so we were still writing the show. But I was just like had them around all the time, like so, which has been like most of their lives, you know, because they're pretty young, you know.
They're how old?
6 and 4.
Wow.
So my daughter was like pretty much all COVID, like
Yeah.
so she kind of there was like a few months before it happened,
Right.
So but yeah, so I mean I'm kind of like, to be honest with you, like used to having them around like kind of all the time, you know.
Yeah.
So that wasn't. And I was like trying to cobble together what I could during the strike to like work on things I could, like help write other guys stand up and that kind of shit.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And this book, you know, so that
Yes.
which we'll talk about later. But yeah, like I don't know, like it made it impossible for me to do stand up for the first 2 years, you know. So like I'm kind of now, the strike also helped me like now be able to get back into stand up, but I kind of had to take a break from it,
Yeah.
like because it was just like. What a fucking unfair nightmare to like leave for the weekend and like I work all week doing like writing and then to like make my wife have to deal with them on her own. Like that's not fair at all. Like that's a
you got to find that
really
balance.
shitty thing to do because they're just they're impossible to like do on your own. So, but now they like you can like tell them to brush their teeth and they will. So like it's like a real Rubicon that's been crossed. They still like shit themselves, but like you can like give them a simple instruction and they can like follow through on it.
That's huge, huh?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Knowing
so
that
like,
you don't have to kind of hold their hand through everything now.
like literally everything. And like it more just like being sure that like, just there was a phase where they're just like every minute of the day just like actively trying to kill themselves. You know what I mean? Like
Fuck.
So that's like the first couple years is just that. So it's like also I can't leave. I can't go do stand up. You know what I mean? Like I can't just leave her. There's two of them to like watch. So
you can't just let them babysit each other.
Yeah, because I think you do need like the number of. You need to either outnumber your kids or have the same number. Like,
gotcha.
I don't do 3. That's a fucking or more. That's a horrendous idea.
Yeah, look at people. I mean, think about like I don't know.
Like I have a friend. I have a buddy. He was is a very funny writer, and it was a fascinating like sociological study I did on him, and he didn't know it. Was I knew him when he had 2 kids, and then when he had 3 kids, and we used to be in a writer's room together, and it was fascinating to watch that the number of jokes he made about killing himself like skyrocketed like 500%, like between 2 and 3. Like when it was 2, he was just like stressed out all the time. When it was 3 kids, it was like just I should probably just kill us. You know what I mean? Like it was like that. Like
oh man.
So it made me go like, oh, okay, that's like the number that you can have is like no more than 2. Because
it gets real after
we
that.
put like a jar on the table, and every time he made a joke about it, he had to put $1 in the jar. And at the end of the season of the show, we had like ended up like donating like $175 to like a suicide hotline. Like
oh my God.
And that was like a direct result of like he never did that before a 3rd baby entered the picture. Wow. So just keep that in mind. If that's a little indicator for you.
Do they know you're funny?
Who, the kids? Yeah, my son. Well, I don't know if they I mean they think I'm funny, but like they like it's stupid shit they think is funny. But but my son.
But they laugh at you.
Yeah, but he understands like jokes like on a real sort of romantic, like he'll write like puns and stuff. Like he'll like come up with puns and like share them with me. Like, hey Dad, what do you like,
how awesome is that?
Yeah, it's cool. Like,
are they good?
No, well, I mean, whatever. Like I'm impressed as hell because like I remember when he couldn't do that when I was like, just when he was like he was about to drown in the bathtub every day. So,
and now
so
he's
it's nice to go like, oh look, like we were like building a desk together, like some IKEA bullshit or whatever, and he was like, "What did one hammer? Like it was what did one hammer say to the other hammer? I nailed it," or whatever. And it was like, that like he understands how like wordplay works and how like like colloquialisms and like he gets like, oh, that's a cliche, and if you say it, like it has a double meaning and like that kind of stuff, like so he kind of gets that. So it's like fun to see that,
at least you didn't. Yeah, at least they're like kind of in context too.
Yeah,
and it's not like what do the foot say to the arm? Like, hey, know any good Jew bars around here? Like,
no, very few. He doesn't understand Judaism at all. Yeah, so like, that hasn't
that's what
conversation yet. We're waiting to get into that.
I think puns is a good intro into comedy.
Yeah, but and also like if you can just ask Google to tell you a kid's joke. And it will just do it,
That's right.
And so we do that sometimes. It helps them like the whatever, just like what do you call it, alligator in a vest, an investigator, right? And he's like, oh, white cat, like
funny.
So it's like a cute, So
do they know?
My daughter doesn't, though.
Yeah,
by the way.
no
and
clue.
It's because women aren't.
But do they even know they can't?
I'm just kidding. That was a joke. No, she's just because she's 4. She doesn't
dude.
She hasn't like pieced it together quite yet. Like so, like my son will like get it and like his favorite joke is why does a duck have tail feathers to cover its butt quack, right? Like he thinks that's
funny,
right? It's cute, right?
It is funny.
And then she will just try to do like any animal, She's like, why does a hippo have tail feathers to cover its butt? And it, like, I mean, she's like, man, like,
real
you don't
close.
get it. Like you're near it, but I think that maybe something clicks when you're like 5 or 6.
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway,
there's another good one. What do you call a duck that does meth?
A quack addict, right?
Yeah,
is that what?
Quackhead,
Quackhead.
Yeah,
right,
either,
sure.
funny.
Yeah, I mean, I can figure out children's jokes. I'm a professional comedy writer at a very high level. Like, you don't have to stump me with fucking kid jokes. I'm not also 6.
Wait, have they seen you on TV? Do they know that? Can they watch? They don't even know what Kimmel.
No, they don't understand any of that shit. Like, and also, it doesn't matter to kids. It doesn't mean anything to them. Like, they don't have any fucking,
So, but when
Do you know Max Burgos? He's my agent. He's a very
Yes,
funny
he
dude.
used to be
Good
my
guy.
agent,
Yeah,
yes.
right. So Max, what happened? What did you guys? No, I'm just
Oh
kidding.
man, I don't
You have
know.
to
He
get
came to the premiere of The Heat in 2013 and then just said it better get better than this, and then he went to the get
He's
popcorn.
funny.
I think. Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah, I know.
No, but I'm gonna chew nicotine.
Yeah, please.
What was I gonna
What
say?
flavor?
It's the fruit kind.
Does it help?
Yeah, I mean I've been doing it for like 8 years.
Is that
so
Chantix? That's all I know.
One
of.
could say it doesn't work because I've been doing it 8 years, but I have no intention of ever like quitting smoke. Like I mean I had to quit smoking, but
Yeah.
I have no intention of not chewing nicotine gum.
You have to.
Yeah,
If
I'm
it
just gonna
helps.
keep doing that. But,
Now, wait, real quick.
no, what I was gonna say
Go ahead, yeah.
is that about kids and their
Yes.
lack of understanding of how
Yes.
this shit works. The Larry the Cable Guy roast, he brought his son, who at the time was like 3 or 4, like it was absolutely like right in the sweetest possible spot for him to give a shit. He like loved Cars, you know that movie, the Cars movies.
Larry's in that, right? He's got a
Yeah,
voice.
he's like the truck, right?
Yeah.
He's like the tow truck,
Right.
And so, I was like, oh my god, dude, you're gonna get to meet the truck. You're gonna get to meet fucking the truck. You know, and then like he met Larry the Cable Guy, and it was like he was so underwhelmed. He was just like, what? This is like a fat old guy. You know what I mean?
put
It
it
was like,
together.
no, of course, because it doesn't mean anything to them. You know what I mean? So it was like, well, you're not a truck. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of the, like he had this like incredibly disappointed like expectation that he was going to meet a talking truck.
Oh my god.
I was just like, well, who the fuck is this? I don't want to see this fat old man. I want to see a truck. Like you told me I was going to see a talking truck.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Larry, to his credit, was like, yeah, I don't know why people do this. Like kids don't get it. Like you know, so
Was he pretty receptive to getting roasted?
yeah, he was like a really good sport about it
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Out of all the, you and Greg jammed on how many together?
Oh, I don't know. I've done well. It's hard to say. I've done 13 now, I think. But like he died after his last one was David Hasselhoff.
Yes.
So I don't know how many have been since then.
Okay.
But I think I did like 6 with him, maybe something like that.
And I think you would tell me before that, like, you guys would jam, just you guys.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize this until recently when I heard you talk about this, that you guys wouldn't even submit your shit until the day before, the day of the roast. Because you didn't, and he wouldn't work them out. This blew my mind because you were saying Jeff Ross, who's Roastmaster General, would go around and I would see him at the store and running his set. And you said Greg never, just the first time he did the jokes was the roast.
Yeah, he didn't want anybody. Like, it's a different style. Like, you know, like that works for Jeff and that's great. He can tweak them and whatever else. And also, that's his entire, like, that's his brand. You know what I mean? So, like, people feel like they're getting to see
1,000%.
like a peek behind the curtain when Jeff does that. So it's cool. But like, yeah, Greg like absolutely didn't want to burn any of the material in advance. So literally the first time he said it was into the microphone at the roast. Like not even at rehearsal. Wow. Like at rehearsal he would like do fake jokes because he didn't want to burn the actual like he didn't want anybody seeing it. And so that was like fun for us. Like if we talked about this then already, but that was like really fun for us was the idea that like that was because there was an entire staff like cranking away on jokes and we were also the two of us tucked away cranking on jokes. Yeah. And like we never saw each other's until like the roast itself that day. And that was like super fun then to see like who cracked it. You know what I mean? Like who's the one who came up with the, you know, better Joan Rivers old, you know, dry vagina joke. You know what I mean? Like so that was like really fun for that reason.
There's a confidence to that. There must be. I mean, to not do your shit until the day of, right? Of just like you guys just know that he's
Yeah,
the joke is that good to hit on day of without running it anywhere.
Yeah, because he didn't
want you
like,
guys laugh or what?
Oh yeah, I mean, like at a point you kind of know, like you do know, like with stand up, it's kind of up in the air. Like you know what I mean. You have to kind of do it in front of a crowd to know. But with roast jokes, they're like surgical. You know what I mean? It's like they're so precise and specific that like you have like you know like kind of sharpened it like a samurai sword to the point where it's like you could look at it on a page and go like, this is absolutely a gem. Like this will work. Like you don't need to try it out in advance, like to get a laugh, to find out if you need to tweak it anymore. Like it's.
So you guys you guys didn't need each other to like gauge if something was like.
Well, the two of us, I guess, like the two of us, if it made the two of us
audience,
laugh, then it was like finished. Then we knew it was a good joke, you know? So.
So crazy so the Trump one you guys did.
No, that was the first one.
Was that after? Oh, that was the first one.
That was that was like extra sad for me because that was the first one that Greg had died and I was like just kind of off on my own.
Oh man!
And they just basically like just folded me into the writing staff for that one. So that was the first one that I didn't have a Greg to write for, and then on top of it, it was Donald Trump who was just like an absolute piece of shit the whole way. Like
he was.
At the time. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah,
Duh.
like,
I can't
you know,
believe
I'm not,
surprised
this
by
is
that.
not me like rewriting reverse engineering history. Like you will find like articles of quotes of me talking about what a diabolical bag of dicks he was back in 2015, how he handled his roast.
Wow.
Like he sucked. Like,
No part of, if somebody had told you during that experience, hey, this guy's gonna be president someday.
no, that was like a joke. Like we kept making that joke, you know, like that he would run for president. But like the only thing that's disappointing to me is that like the sort of like immense volume of shit that we know about him now, we didn't at the time. You know what I mean? Like,
Gotcha.
like there was no, you know, porn star payoff, and you know, like there was none of that
Yeah,
stuff. Like
dude.
that would have been great.
You're just going off
to
of-
have
yeah,
at
totally.
the roast. It was just mostly just like he's an impotent, you know,
Billionaire,
fat pretend
yeah.
billionaire. But
Yeah,
actually, you couldn't even do those jokes about him not being rich.
Why?
Like,
Because he would say,
because that was his one thing, which was so absurd. Was like everybody gets a thing that they get to say, like that's kind of like off limits. You know what I mean? And it's always reasonable. You know, it's always like, don't make fun of my children or whatever. You know what I mean? Or like,
so every roast person getting
they
roasted,
usually will say like they'll have a couple things that are off limits. You know, like, and that's fair. You know, like, and it's never something that would make you go like, come on, don't be a.
if the mom passed of AIDS,
Right, or whatever. Yeah, it's like I'm real sensitive about my mom. Like, just let's not do that,
Okay.
or whatever it is. You
Yeah.
know, like Bob Saget was like, don't make fun of the Olsen twins. It was like, okay, yeah, that's a reasonable thing to ask. You know what I mean? Like, it's not their
I
roast.
feel like it
It's-
happened anyway, didn't
It
it?
did, but still, like,
Yeah.
it was a good rule of thumb to like don't smash them.
Right, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, so, and he was good natured about it and all
Right,
that stuff.
right.
But yeah, Trump's only thing was don't say I'm not as rich as I am. Like that was literally his thing. Like you cannot undervalue my net worth or properties or whatever. So
No, but
yeah,
my
and that's
but my family, you can say they're all pieces of shit.
absolutely, yeah.
But don't undermine my value.
Yeah, don't like undervalue what I'm worth. Like that was like his whole thing. And he would like, I mean, I've talked about this, but like he really like he would actively like jack up the numbers in his script for stuff. Like there was like he literally is like you could see like there's some Huffington Post article or something that actually has like scanned in like a document from his like rebuttal that he like crossed out shit and changed numbers and stuff. Like there, like there's this one joke about it was like toward the end of his thing that was something to the effect of that you know he is responsible for like all the world's problems like bed bugs and scabies and you know like herpes and whatever else. And but like he's like he doesn't even live here. He's like Earth's slumlord essentially,
Yeah.
right? So he like lives in a golden penthouse space station like Italian marble.
Right.
It's like it's beautiful. And then he starts like selling, you know, like talking about the sort of amenities of his space station.
Right.
And he says that it was 50,000 square foot, and he changed that number to like 100,000. Like he jacked up.
Fuck outta here.
He needed people to know that his fictitious space station was larger than it was, which is literally exactly what he is currently being indicted for. Is inflating the value
Yeah.
of things.
That's
and
very
it's like,
illegal.
I know for sure he did that because I watched him do it with a fake space station. I watched him double the size of a fake space station that came out of our brains. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
But back then, it's very laughable. You're just like, this guy's such a cartoon character of a human being, right?
yeah, but he wasn't like, not in a good way. Like, I mean, yeah, like he was just a contemptible.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's why, like, any of these, like, you know, like, whatever, Casey Hutchinson or whoever these people who come out, like, finally, and they write a book, and
Yeah.
they're like, oh, you know, like, you know, they, like, kind of see the light, and they, you know, former administration people.
Right.
And it's like, how did you fucking not know? Like, I knew he was a piece of shit when I saw him in a Pizza Hut commercial in, like, 1984.
Even the way he
Like-
talked to Kevin McAllister in Home Alone 2.
Yeah, exactly. It was like I was like, this guy's not for me. He's
No.
a real douchebag.
tell, man.
Like from like Pizza Hut commercials, like in the '80s. Like, how did you not get that sense?
Man, I saw him
This
on
guy's a scumbag.
I saw him on a late Tonight Show with Jay Leno once, and Dave Matthews and Scarlett Johansson were the guests. And Dave like made some comment about like he's like, if we flew in here late last night and like on a regular commercial jet, not on like Mr. Trump, hoping to get up to you, babe, like Mr. Trump. And Trump just like smiled and then turned out toward the crowd and went like, and just was like waiting for an applause.
Yeah.
For like, that's right, I've got a big plan. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a level of just megalomania that's
It's absurd. It's pathological.
almost respectable to a certain degree. I mean, to me right now, this is the last thing I'll say about this guy. I mean, I don't know, but here's the thing: it's like Trump jokes. I feel like at this point, it's like he's continuing to keep himself. You guys, you can't not talk about because he's continuing to give material, and he's continuing to get on camera. And what I think now is, if you're looking at him and Biden comparatively, it's like Biden is old guy and Trump is like crazy old guy. Where it's like he's still, if you're at a barbecue with a crazy old guy that's like, I'm number one on Facebook.
Right.
Versus Joe just being like,
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
Fraggle Rock nearby, like whatever it is.
Right.
It's just, the fact that Trump can be somewhat articulate and coherent is keeping him like, because it's all still bonkers. They're operating through the same guy turning the wheel for all their sentences in their brain works at the same factory.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean, they're both like my kids are approximately that age gap that Donald Trump and Joe Biden are. They're both like, you know what I mean? Like on the they're just on the old end of it. But it's like both of my children, I don't trust. Like they're both. They might as well be the same age. You know what I mean? Like there's very little development, improvement between 4 and 6. Just like there is very little developmental de-evolution between 81 and 79. You know what I mean? Like they might as well be.
But then you look at Harrison Ford doing 15 Indiana Jones movies, and you're like, fuck.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, but he's not fucking president. Like, he could sure go ahead, do whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, there's always, like, a story about some grandma who runs the New York City Marathon. Like, good, fine, go ahead, do that, whatever, I don't care.
No thanks.
Like, but, like, I don't want them to be president.
How do you guys deal with, I guess now coming out of the writer's strike and just, and you guys are the best, dude. I mean, it's like your jokes, your monologue. I've told you this many a times, dude. Kimmel's the best with the monologue. Your bits, it's real smart, man. But also silly, playful. You span the gamut with giving the audience a variety of things to chew on.
Yeah, well, I'm a small part of it, but thanks. But that's the thing that I'm proud of about the show too, is that like comedy people always hands down are like Kimmel's the one that I like. You know what I mean? So like if people who are also in that, you know what I mean, like you would go if you needed to get your toilet fixed, you would go with the guy that plumbers say is like, this guy's the plumber. Oh
yeah, man.
You know what I mean? So like I think the fact that comedy people are like, Kimmel's the one. Like I'm proud to work on a show like that.
How do you guys? You're jamming on the monologue too, right? With all How can you just break down like a day of jamming on that? Like you guys came in, let's say Monday. I mean, like coming back from the strike. I mean, I'm assuming it's business as usual, right? You try to get back to your old habits, your old routines of like, I don't know, is there just a meeting, almost like the beginning of an SNL week? Everyone sits down and no, it doesn't work like that. But like, so like this week was a weird example just for the fact that we didn't have a week prior. Okay. Like, so like next week will be a good example, or this week is a good example, right? Because we had last week, right? So at 7 a.m. we get a packet in our inbox that is, here's a bunch of the news stories, right? That somebody has culled through, and there's a guy who has a terrible job that he has to start looking for news stories at like 4:30 in the morning or whatever. Oh right? My God! So that they get to us at 7, right? So then he sends them to us, and then we basically just write a bunch of jokes to those, and then like you have to turn those in by 9 a.m. And then basically Jimmy will send us something back by 10 a.m. that's like he's culled through that whole packet and has picked jokes, right? So, and then we get in and there's a rehearsal, and then that's where we will see like bits that were taped the day before, or like, ones that are edited together, that kind of thing, or, and then we watch clips of like news clips of like, goofy shit that happened in the news, or, clips of Trump, misspeaking and, whatever, saying that he's running against Obama or whatever insane thing he's doing right now. So like that kind of stuff. And we'll watch those, and then he picks those, and then after lunch we like write jokes for all those clips, and then just other news will come in throughout the day, and we'll work on those, and then there usually be like a 5 o'clock like look ahead to the next, like coming up, whatever, we have Harrison Ford on the show, whatever it is, like then like write bits for that coming up, like some sort of like forward thinking ideas for the next day, and then we tape the show at 4:30, and we watch the monologue, and then we go. So that's it. That's the day. So it's really like kind of like from about like I'd say after you've like a little reprieve from 7 to 9, it's super busy because you're just trying to cram out as many jokes as you can, and then like starting at like 11, it's busy for the rest of the day. Like, so yeah. How much is Jimmy? He's there for all the rehearsal and everything.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And is it pretty much like a free for all? Like just he's like, hey, throw anytime something,
well, it's not like nobody's like just usually like, well, yeah. I mean, you could shout shit if you want to, like in the rehearsal or whatever. But like, usually like at that point we're like kind of like making notes about like, oh, this clip is funny, maybe we could do something with this. And, like that happened to me today in rehearsal. There was like a clip for something that I was like, oh, okay, this isn't a thing that's like you can encapsulate the pitch in just me shouting it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write it down and send it in later in the day, which I did. Gotcha. So in theory, if he picks it tonight, it could be something I work on tomorrow. Wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that. That's how it works.
Do you guys discuss ever like, all right, we're less Trump jokes this week, or less jokes about something again that's like a big story for a while, or is it really just day to day? Like
it is really day to day.
You have to treat each.
Yeah. Like, and then also like looking ahead to like the whatever the World Series is coming up, we're gonna have like that kind of stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of stuff always, and like just right now we're pitching like like Halloween ideas and stuff like that, and which we probably would have done a few weeks ago had we not been on strike, know. But so like, and I have a Christmas bit that I just pitched that we couldn't do for like 3 years because of COVID, but we're gonna try and do it this time around. Yeah, it's like a sketch thing that we just weren't able to do because it requires a lot of people and we couldn't have them,
Yeah.
So I'm getting started to work on that.
Awesome.
So like that kind of shit. So there is like forward thinking stuff, but the rest of it is like very day to day, trying to get it done like by 4 p.m.,
God damn.
So, yeah.
Will the fake parents ate the candy thing make a return?
Oh, yeah.
It is.
You know what? I assume, I don't know. I assume it would, but again, maybe there wasn't time to get the call out because of the strike. Like, if it weren't for the strike, surely there would be. But
there's got to be time, right?
Oh, wait. Yeah. Oh, wait. What am I
Halloween's
talking about? It's supposed to be. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, So, yes, in theory, I assume because it's that night that it happens on Halloween.
And then it's the next day, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
yeah. Like, usually it's one of those, like, I was thinking like those viewer bits where people have to send shit in.
Yeah.
But that is, like, contingent on it happening Halloween night. So, there is still time.
What do you think about those? So, it's always funny when there's some people that comment like, "This is so mean," and I
think it's hilarious. Like having kids, like I think that's great. Like I wouldn't do it to my own children, like because I'm not a fucking monster. Like I'm not a total asshole. Like why would I do that to my kids?
Some of the parents are just maniacally laughing as the kid is sobbing.
I don't know what was wrong with the parents that do it, but I think it's hilarious and delightful.
It's fun to watch.
It's fun to watch. Yeah, it's fun to watch kids like fall down or whatever. Like it's funny.
Wait, how
it's
about
not my own?
How about the stuff that do you chime in on the stuff like that Jimmy's gotten famous for these monologues about the healthcare system or
yeah he's cool about that. Like on days where there's something like serious or dramatic or whatever, like they'll really just like just send your thoughts, like your legitimate thoughts on the issue. You know what I mean? Like so you're not like trying to go for jokes, like after a shooting or whatever, like that kind of thing. But it's just like like whatever, just like an open forum and you send that kind of stuff in, and like sometimes he may like, oh, I like that sentiment or whatever. But like for the most part, it's him doing that. Like because you're not going to put words in his mouth when it's like a serious issue necessarily, but I mean I'm like on the like on a sillier note, like I'm on the sort of a radicalized moron QAnon desk, like that's kind of my territory is like anti-vaxxers and dipshits like that. So like a lot of times like I'll find some fucking con man who like some whatever dipshit chiropractor who is like saying that the vaccines cause pregnant women to have miscarriages or whatever stupid shit like that, and I'll go like like I think that this moron should be talked about, you know what I mean? And I'll like that, and I'll write up a whole funny chunk about it, like that kind of thing. So and then that, so like whatever. But like,
what about like going after? Go ahead.
No, so it's like there are times where you do feel like you're like it was, and I felt the void when I was on strike to like not have that outlet because like there are plenty of times where it's like. There are times where it's like somebody will do something infuriating, and then you make fun of Ted Cruz and call him a gelatinous buttworm or whatever it is, and then that ends up on like, and then he gets mad at it, and you get to see the repercussion. Like you get to see, like I had something a couple years that like Fox News was like a whole weekend of them griping about. Like they were so like, can you believe that? Tucker Carlson's like, can you believe that what he said about you people? You know what I mean? Like that's what he thinks about it. Like whatever, like that kind of thing. It was like, oh yeah, that was my idea.
Wow, that's
so it's
cool.
fun to see that happen.
Fuck yeah.
Like so yeah, that's exciting.
There's a new one now with Aaron Rodgers that I feel like is pretty fun. That he's going after my boy Travis Kelce for being what's he called, Mr. Pfizer, I think.
Oh right, yeah.
Which is just like, it's so funny because I'm like, oh, you're so not cool, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
and this is aside from any sort of vax talk, whatever.
Right.
You're just clearly a boring guy.
Yeah.
And Travis Kelce is so cool. And
Yeah.
I've smoked weed with him.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And Aaron Rodgers is in the woods doing ayahuasca, which is cool. But it's cooler to smoke weed and walk around your city and take pictures with people at the gas station.
Sure.
Which is not what Travis and I set out to do that day, but it happened by...
I think if you're a famous NFL player, that's cool. I think there's a lot of people that smoke weed and go take pictures of people at the gas station.
Yeah.
That's
I
not,
think that's...
like,
You're a man of
there's
the
a piece
people.
missing where that's like not like, fuck yeah, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Like, so, but,
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it is. To each his own. To go hard in the paint on stuff like that, I guess. The same way. I guess he's entitled the same way. If Travis is going to do those commercials, that Rodgers does do that. But sometimes, I guess, when the question isn't being asked about, like I think he was asked something about Kelce and Taylor Swift, and then he just made a little jab.
Yeah.
Which is just,
Well, yeah. I mean, like.
But he also said that dolphins fucking have healing powers.
Yeah. He seems like not a well-read guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Which to me feels ripe for, but also, sometimes athletes like that, you're just like, oh, maybe you wouldn't even get it's almost a waste of a joke.
Yeah.
Because it's partly you're doing that in hopes that the person, like you said, does get wind of it.
Yeah, it's like whatever. He can be a dipshit like that. Like there's like plenty of like whatever. There's the what is it? What's his name? Irving, the Kyrie Irving. He's the one who's like the flat earther or whatever. You know what I mean? Like whatever. There's like those guys are. They're just. I didn't expect them to be particularly smart guys.
Totally.
Like Aaron Rodgers or whoever. Like so. But they're not like making money off that. Like the people that bother me are like the people like the anti-vax doctors or whatever,
right.
those people who then like sell some like colloidal silver supplement or some bullshit like that, or they'll sell like those like buckets of freeze-dried food that'll last for 100 years when the 5G zombie apocalypse happens. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Like those guys, fuck them, because they're the ones like. And then like Aaron Rodgers will watch one of those videos and go like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, and then he'll just regurgitate the stupid shit. But like he's not profiting from it. Like the guys who are the problem are the ones who are like
cashing it.
Whatever podcast Aaron Rodgers listens to, they're the ones who are the problem.
Totally.
Like that kind of thing.
Hey guys, Adam Ray for the About Last Night podcast, and this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. I got a question for you. Do you feel like your brain, the thing in your head that makes you think, talk, breathe, come, fart, and fall asleep during a bad story, that it's getting in its own way? I know I do. Being a comedian on the road, sometimes I'm just not getting the proper rest, or my brain is taking a vacay, and I'm trying to get back on track. Well, you know what you should do? You know what's good for you, but you just can't do it? Therapy. It helps you figure out what's holding you back, and I've been fucking with BetterHelp because I'm trying to get to the bottom of what's holding me back, whether I know it or not. And you can work on yourself too, instead of against yourself. Aww, that's so cute. If you're thinking of starting therapy, look, give BetterHelp a try. It truly is the way to take a deeper look inside what's going on, which we all should do. You got to get introspective, reflective, all the actives, and it's all online. Designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you got to do is fill out a brief questionnaire so they can get to know who you are and who you could get matched with, who will be a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge if you don't like them, the way they look, smell. Look, make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. And right now, you can go to betterhelp.com/aboutlastnight and get 10% off your first month, because shit ain't cheap. So go to betterhelp.com/aboutlastnight today. Get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/aboutlastnight. This book.
Yeah.
Give me the title.
Oh, sure. It's Killing the Guys Who Killed the Guy Who Killed Lincoln. A nutty story about Edwin Booth and Boston Corbett. So it's a good.
Available everywhere you can get books.
It is not available anywhere you can get books. It's exclusive to Scribd, right? So,
Ooh.
do you know what Scribd is?
No.
All right, think of it like Netflix for books, right?
Awesome.
So it is a subscription service that has millions of ebooks and audiobooks.
Cool.
And you just subscribe to the service, and then you have unlimited access to like all these books. And so, similarly to Netflix, they just have like a big library of stuff, but then also they do originals, right? So mine is a Scribd original, right? Where they are like starting to do like original content.
Fuck yeah.
So they're like giving, and there's big names that like Stephen King does Scribd originals, and like Margaret Atwood, who did, what's it called? Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
Like, whatever. Like, so they're like big name authors that do it too. And then they also just like take a shot and give a book deal to somebody who's never had a book before, and they were like looking to fill something in a comedy history space. Like, do anybody know anybody who does comedy history? And my manager was like, yeah, I know exactly the fucking goofy history dork who is a comedy history nerd. So then I just pitched them this idea, and they bit and gave me a book deal.
And so what did you pitch them that ultimately got?
So this is essentially a story about two very peculiar guys on either side of John Wilkes Booth, who was the assassin of Abraham Lincoln. So this is like essentially it's a story about the Lincoln assassination, but not about the Lincoln assassination itself. It's about these two kind of weirdos in the periphery.
I'd watch a full movie of this, by the way.
Did you? Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks. Like,
in a
people
heartbeat.
have said that, like, that's been flattering that people are like, oh, you should turn this into something. So
I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
it's just a funny take to take some historical event and be like, what about like the other shit that was going on around that you're not thinking about?
Yeah, and so I don't know. Do you know who? There's two. It's about two guys. And so do you know who? First of all, do you know who Edwin Booth was or is?
That sounds familiar.
Okay, well, you're a professional actor. You should know. So, but Edwin Booth was.
I played Jay Leno and Vince McMahon, so that's the extent of my historical figures that I'm privy to.
No, the strip club DJ at the Chippendales, right? There was a real man.
Yeah.
I'm sure
and
you
Ron
watched
Ziegler
a lot of original tape and whatever of that guy.
I did, yeah.
Oh, you did? I was fucking with you. But
No,
you
I
actually,
did,
like,
I did.
there was a real guy?
Yes, that he's based off of, yes.
Oh, okay.
That's a real guy.
Yeah, so see, you've a lot of important historical figures.
I'm never going to play. That's how much, by the
Dr.
way,
Phil,
how great my character's going, or my career. People were just like, hey, if it could just not be you, it'd be great.
You're like the Daniel Day-Lewis of, like, dumb, shitty, inconsequential people in history. You know, because, like, he always plays historical figures, but they tend to be very important, and you're going to do all the dumb ones.
Hey, I played Ron Ziegler on Gaslit, Nixon's press secretary.
There you go. See? There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. No, he was a dumbass. Like, that's good. Like, that's what I'm saying. You're going to play all the dipshits in history.
Holy shit. All right, so Edwin Booth is who?
Booth
I'll play him at some point. Educate me.
He was John Wilkes Booth's way more famous brother, like, at the time, actor. Like, so John Wilkes Booth came from a very famous acting family, right? And John Wilkes Booth was the shittiest one. Like, he was like the Fat Baldwin of the Booth family, right? Or more, but that's not even that, because they had a famous dad, right? Their dad, John Wilkes Booth's dad, was super famous. His name was Junius Brutus Booth, and he was the most famous actor in the world. Like, he's from England, and he was famous in England, and then he came over here. It was like the first international celebrity actor, right? And then, so then they had he had a family, and they all became actors, like all the kids, right? And Edwin was like the standout. So it's kind of like the dynamic a little bit is, and the thing is that it's like Southern sort of revisionist history that, like, John Wilkes Booth was a famous actor. Like, John Wilkes Booth fucking sucked. Like, he was like a hanger-on, open micer, wannabe nobody, dipshit guy who happened to be like the handsome one, right? So he was like the dumb boy band good-looking of the, but like nobody respected John as an actor, right? Like, but Edwin was like the fucking guy. So it's kind of like a little bit like Kirk Douglas and Michael Douglas and Eric Douglas. You know what I mean? So it's like that dynamic.
Wow.
You know? So then Edwin then becomes the most famous man in America. Like, he's like the number one actor. And, like, you know, I don't know, like, well, you're an actor. It's like hard to quantify acting, but I think this is like a funny, like, anecdote. Like, he was apparently so good at acting that, like, people would shoot at him a lot. Like, because he would play, like, Iago in Othello. Like, he played villains a lot.
Right.
And when he would play villains, they would get so mad they'd fucking start shooting at him because he's like, we got to get this guy.
Holy shit.
Right?
People
like,
couldn't differentiate between screen and real life.
Well, not even screen, but stage. Like, because this was like the 1850s
yes,
or whatever.
Okay.
So then he, but he was like that. Like, the way that it's described, he was like the theatrical 19th century Brando, right? Like, he changed the game, right?
Gotcha.
Like before Edwin came along, like, even his dad, who was really famous, and like the other famous actors of the day in like the 1830s and 40s or whatever, like, they would just like bloviate Shakespeare, you know, just like, it is better to, you know, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, you know, and they would like mime firing an arrow when they got to that part, right? Because people are dumb, and they would like mime it basically, right? But then Edwin was like, I think we should give people more credit than that. And so he would, like, you know, just kind of mope around as Hamlet instead of like, you know, like my father. Yeah, like, he would like just kind of emote, like, do it with eyes and stuff, like the way like Brando did, right?
Yes.
And so that's why, like, he like fucking, like, people were like blown away when they saw him on stage. So like Edwin was huge, and then John was just this wannabe kind of hanger-on dude, and he wanted to get in the family business, and like even the whole family was like, yeah, John's not very good. Like, there's like written. Like, you know, his sister Asia said that, and like Edwin said that to their other brother, was like, I don't know.
So he
about
tried.
John. Yeah, so John really wanted to, and they were like, get the fuck, like, but he wouldn't be dissuaded because he was like crazy, right? He was like a megalomaniac. And so Edwin came up with this plan, was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do all the like cool northern cities like Philadelphia and Boston and Chicago and New York. And then you have to like stay south of basically the Mason-Dixon line. Like you can perform anywhere like Alabama and Georgia, like these like small little towns and whatever, right? And so basically like he banished John to only performing in the South, like in the early 1850s, like in the lead up to the Civil War. So basically like John got kind of radicalized down there because he would do these shows like in like barns in Mobile, Alabama, and then the only people to talk to after the show were just people who like hated the North and like that kind of thing.
God.
And they were like, like they're just trying to tell us what to do and keep us down or whatever. And he was like, yeah, there's a guy, I know a guy like that up there who did the same thing to me.
God.
So I'm not blaming Edwin necessarily, but it's a little bit his fault. You know what I mean? Like, so he like kind of sent this like emotionally fragile, dumb guy to the South, like right in the lead up to the Civil War, and then he just basically got like radicalized by Confederates. So, and then after John kills Lincoln, like Edwin's career is like fucked, and he's like, and so he like writes a letter to the New York Times, like quitting acting or whatever.
Wow.
And and then that lasted because actors like for like 6 months, and he was like, I'm back, everybody, right? And then
of course,
and then like whatever
so that'd be like if Alec Baldwin. If let's say Stephen Baldwin,
are you gonna say if Alec Baldwin killed a guy?
Well, I was
gonna
say if Stephen Baldwin did that and then Alec had to quit.
Yeah, but except Alec is not that big. You know what I mean? Like it's like like if Brad Pitt's, you know what I mean? Like brother
Alan Pitt.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Wait.
So
that's fucking crazy.
And so then like for the rest of his career, just kind of like dogged him and stuff. Like he did end up like still having a career in acting and whatever, and
but he was doing like Disney, like Pets Play Sports movies.
No, actually, what is interesting, like he ended up doing okay, but it was like always like everybody was weird around him for the rest of his life, and like there was like this rule like you couldn't bring up Lincoln or his brother around him and that kind of shit, and he would just like step on rakes all the time, like there's this one, I guess so. There's a statue in Chicago of Lincoln, and in order to raise money for that statue in like the 1870s or whatever, they would sell these like, what a death mask is?
Yeah.
Like, right? They did that with his hands, right? So like a lot of people, like they would sell these like sculptures that were like Lincoln's dead hands, right? And people had them in their house, right? Like a lot of people bought those, and then the money for those went to, there was like a cast of Lincoln's hands, went to build this statue. And so, Edwin's like seeing these all over the place, and like he goes to some party one night. He's like, "What are these? I've been seeing these everywhere." And everyone's like, "Oh fuck, they're Lincoln's hands." And then he's like, "Yeah, sure, fuck." And he like bails on the party, and like you know what I mean. Like that was like the way it always worked.
Yeah.
With him, like that you couldn't talk about like, and he was just always writing
overly
about
sensitive.
how John fucked him, like that kind of thing.
Couldn't let it go.
Yeah. So anyway,
do we know why John wanted to kill Lincoln? Was it just he just got?
Well, like I said, I mean, he got radicalized first of all, and then he was like really like the rest of the family was abolitionists, but he was like really like pro-slavery and whatever else, and also he was like
nuts,
like a fame maniac. You know what I mean? And, like he wanted to be famous really badly, and it wasn't working out. Like acting, like whatever. Like this was just a shortcut. Like that kind of shit, you know? So, but like, I mean, he was like, he definitely like, and he was like a stupid guy. So he got like radicalized by the South and told that was a good, you know, whatever. So, but then the South secedes and they lose the war.
Right.
And then 5 days later, he goes and kills Lincoln. And everybody's like, well, what the fuck did you do that for? Like, even the South were like, well, it's over. What do you, come on, man. So, yeah.
Still wanted his 50 minutes of fame.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
exactly.
so the book then.
So then, sorry.
Yeah, please, take your time.
So then that's Edwin. So the other character in the book is like probably my favorite, like 19th century man. Like he's just an incredible lunatic. He's like 1800s Mike Lindell. Like he's this goofy my pillow dipshit. So his name is Boston. Yeah, right. Exactly. He's such a lovable goof.
Yeah,
right.
Dude.
So he was a hatter who he made hats. Right. And then that made him crazy, right? Like you've heard the term "mad as a hatter," right?
Oh yeah,
that's like a real thing that would happen to hatters. Do you know about that? So like the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland, they used to make hats by like boiling them in liquid mercury, and then what would happen is they would just sit there and breathe in mercury vapor all day, and mercury nitrate makes you fucking crazy. It puts holes in your brain. And so hatters would just do that all the time. And it took them like years to put that together. It was like Lewis Carroll, the guy who wrote Alice in Wonderland, was like one of the first people to like make that connection, and everybody thought it was fascinating and like hilarious.
Wow.
Cause like at the time it was like a great joke because it was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like because it was like people would be like, hey, is the guy who makes your hats also fucking crazy as shit? And it was like, yeah, they're all fucking. So anyway, he was a hat maker who went crazy, and then he was an alcoholic. He lost his job and he became a street preacher, and he was like preaching on the street, and he like went like he was impersonating Jesus. He became like a real like hardcore Jesus goof. And then one night, 2 prostitutes came up and talked to him, and he got really horny, and he got really mad about it, and he got upset at himself for being horny. And he went back to his apartment, and he read that part of the Bible that says if your eye offends you, you should cut it off. Or if your hand's bugging, like keeping you from straying from God, you should cut it off. And he took a pair of scissors, and he cut his balls off with a pair of scissors. So he castrated himself with scissors. And then he didn't even go to the hospital. He just like fucking walked around the city for a while, and he went to church. And he was at church, and they were like, hey, man, your dick's bleeding a lot. You should probably go to the hospital. And so then they sent him to the hospital, and he almost died there. And then he got out, and the Civil War started. And then he immediately joins, right, this ballless goofball.
Hey, you don't get your balls back
poison.
once you cut them off, do you?
They're just gone. No, And, yeah, there's actually a really graphic medical description that's in the book that the doctors at the Boston Medical University or whatever, like, it's pretty gory what happened to his dick, but hilarious. And so
is that funny? Even if it's like a horrendous dick-related event, it's still dick-related.
Oh, there's a really good Edwin dick-related story too. He had the clap, right?
Yeah.
And the way they used to treat that back in the day was they would put it on a table and they would smash it with a book, right? And so he had like a flattened dick because his dick, and the biggest book at the time, by the way, was the Bible. So like that is the most compelling connection between these two guys is both of them had their dick disfigured by the Bible. So anyway. So Boston Corbett joins the Union Army and becomes like a super soldier, right? And he is kind of the bravest dude in his unit and whatever else. And he's also like super crazy, and he like doesn't respect authority, and he gets kicked out of the army like 3 times, and then just immediately like just kind of goes through the like just signs back up again somewhere else, and then like he ends up. Lincoln gets killed. He's the first guy to volunteer, and he chases John Wilkes Booth to a barn after 12 days, and they're supposed to arrest John Wilkes Booth because they want a big trial, and God talks to Boston and tells him you should probably kill him, and so Boston shoots John Wilkes Booth in the head. So that's what happened to John Wilkes Booth, is this guy, Boston Corbett, this ballless eunuch, Mad Hatter, is
Stepped
the one
up.
yeah.
People went nuts when John got shot. Yeah, was it like a?
Yes, and then so it was like they arrest Boston because it's like he's now in trouble,
Yeah.
right? Because they're supposed to, and they bring him back to D.C. and it's like the Super Bowl parade, right? Like everybody is like, there he is, and like everybody's super excited about Boston Corbett, and overnight he becomes the most famous man in America. Like right at the exact same time when Edwin is no longer. Like he's like hiding in his mansion.
Yeah.
Like Boston Corbett becomes the most famous dude, and he gets his picture taken by Matthew Brady, who's like the guy who took every Civil War picture, like $5 bills with Lincoln's face. Matthew Brady took that picture.
Wow.
And that's like what it's based on. And like he took everybody. So he makes like a baseball card of Boston Corbett, and it gets passed around by everybody, and like becomes like a collector's item and shit. And then he starts going on tour and doing like theaters, like reenacting the killing of John Wilkes Booth. But he's crazy and he's impossible to listen to because he's out of his mind. And so, like, it always says, like, anytime you read, like, an old newspaper that talks about his show, they're always like, you know, like, everyone asks for their money back or whatever. You know, like,
wow.
Because he was really, like, it was like
the Charlie Sheen tour. I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah, that's a lot what it's like. Yeah, it was like the Charlie
Or it'd be
Sheen.
like if the guy who killed Bin Laden did a one-man show about what it was like.
That's a lot what it's like. Yes, exactly. That's
and I would watch the fuck out of that, by the way.
And so, so he went on tour for that, like, doing that shit. And then, eventually, he ended up, like, getting crazier because he like mercury poisoning gets worse as you get, and so this like conspiracy theory started up like a QAnon kind of thing that was that John wasn't really dead and that Boston killed the wrong guy, and he got really mad about it. He pulled guns on anybody who said that, but then eventually he started to believe it. Right? He was like, oh, maybe they're onto something. And then somebody sent him as like a goof, like a prank, like some just, like troll from the 1800s, sent him a like a death threat signed by John Wilkes Booth, like I'm coming to get you or whatever. And so then Boston is like, holy fuck.
No way to fact check.
The guy who I killed is really mad that I killed him and he's coming for me. Right? Like that's the right? Because he's
dude.
So he takes off and like goes running and he ends up in Kansas and digs a gigantic hole in the ground and then lives in the hole with 2 guns pointed at the opening of the hole for like a decade. Right? Like that's And then he ends up taking the Kansas State House hostage one night and then goes to an insane asylum and then he busts out. Like, it's a crazy story. So, like, that's Boston Corbett is a fascinating fucking.
So all this is in the book.
Yeah. It's like the lives of those two guys.
Holy shit,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
Bro,
So.
great pitch.
Oh, thanks.
I'm so fired up to read it. The last book I think I read is Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein.
That's a while ago, I think.
It's a while
I mean,
ago.
you could have read it at any stage in your life, but
Yeah, it knows.
you should have read it as a small child. So.
Yeah. How bravo, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
To write a book is no small feat.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And
well, I had time off, so.
Yeah, but still, man, even making good on your time off is challenging. Okay, so people should go to.
So you can go to Scribd. So here's, if you want to get it.
Yeah.
So I have a code. You just go try.scribd. Scribd is spelled SCRIBD. Try.scribd.com/Jesse Joyce, and you get a free 2-month subscription to check it out.
Wow.
So then you can just check out the book, and then you can cancel it and not have to pay anything.
Done and
right?
done. We'll put all that
I
up,
have,
too.
it's an audiobook too, so I read the audiobook.
I was just going to ask because
Yeah.
I'm a big audiobook guy.
Okay, yeah. So you can
Awesome.
you listen to the audiobook. Yeah.
And what's even better about having somebody who is a professional talker,
Yeah.
that that should translate over to.
Have you ever, as an actor, have you ever done an audiobook?
I'm dying to. Never have.
It's so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like, I thought what you're saying is like, well, you're a professional talker. You've done this for years. I thought that'd be the easy part.
You have
Like, I
somebody in there
thought writing the
directing,
book
like,
would be very hard.
Yeah.
And that was actually super fun for me. And I basically cooked through like a chapter a day kind of thing is how I kind of did it.
Wow.
But then when it came to the audiobook, I was like, crack, this will be no problem. And then it was just like every third sentence I fucked up.
Yeah.
And there's all these there's two different narcs in your ears that are always like, you missed a word or you didn't,
Yep.
and it's like, it makes you question whether or not you're even literate.
Totally.
You know what I mean? It's like, I wrote this. Like,
And you
I
want
should be able to read it.
Yeah, you want the appropriate amount of emotion behind each
Cannot-
sentence and
it's so hard to read a book into a
Wow.
microphone. So,
Wow.
Anyway, but I guess did it on time. It took 2 days.
Good.
But yeah, so anyway.
The writing of the book. Did you have to? So you said you wrote a chapter a day.
Once it was the research that took forever, right? Like, so that was the part that once I outlined it all. And then once I had that, it was like, okay, I know what I want to have happen in this chapter. And then it just the book kind of reads a little bit like Drunk History,
Cool.
but from a sober guy for 18 years,
Yeah.
so it's kind of just me telling the story in a way. It's kind of like I did, but it's far more comprehensive and with sharper jokes.
Yeah.
But the research, it was just I literally was just going through the Library of Congress and reading newspapers from the 1860s and whatever, that kind of thing a lot. So yeah, it was. And then there's old books that there's old books on Scribd too. I use Scribd to actually find some books that went out of print in 1911 that were written by a guy who knew Boston Corbett, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Can you over or under research? When do you get to a point where you're
No, not for me. I feel like there's a lot. I feel like everybody has a different style. But even just with jokes, on the show, I spend half that 7 to 9 time.
Yeah.
I spend the first hour doing my own. Doing my own research makes me sound like an anti-vax dipshit. But in this context, I don't just trust the little packet that was sent. I want to find the angle that nobody else has,
Yes.
So I will always for the roast too. I read David Hasselhoff's dumb book, not the whole thing, but I read enough of it to get a sense that I was oh, here's a couple nuggets.
What was his book?
I don't know, whatever. I don't even remember
Burgers
what it was
off
called.
the floor?
Yeah,
No.
yeah. I didn't remember what it was called, but it was just whatever, his
for sure.
triumph from Knight Rider
Yeah.
to singing on the Berlin Wall or whatever the fuck.
Right,
it was
right.
that kind of thing. So, but there's whatever goofy. So I always feel if I know everything about the thing, then I can make a ton of jokes about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I approached it. So I researched it for months, and then So
I want to pitch you a book idea.
okay, sure.
From a fictional character standpoint. Although
All right.
I thought he was fictional, but he's a real guy.
Oh, okay. I
Chef,
like books about real
Chef
guys.
Boyardee.
Uh-huh.
How much do you know about him?
I know there's a statue of him in Minneapolis or somewhere like that, isn't there?
Wow.
Do you know about that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
He's
Minneapolis
a real man.
is
and there's
claiming Prince, Kirby
It
Puckett,
might not be Minneapolis.
and Chef Boyardee.
But if you just Google the Chef Boyardee statue, there's a statue of him somewhere that people go and take goofy Instagram photos with. But no, I don't know. He's probably Polish or something, right? And they just gave him an Italian, whatever.
He is a real chef.
Yeah.
That really had but there's
Invented canned
so
stew.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
beefaroni.
Right.
And what was his beefaroni and I think just the ravioli, whatever.
Yeah.
SpaghettiOs.
Yeah.
there's enough out. There's like maybe 2 paragraphs on Wikipedia.
Okay.
And I did a couple days worth of like really scouring, nothing, to where I'm like, oh, the comedic liberties you could take to flesh out the rest of this story feels just endless.
You know, I feel like that he probably had the same sort of that chefs at the time probably felt about him the same way that chefs now feel about Guy Fieri. You know what I mean? Like it's probably that kind of vibe.
Sure.
You know, where there was a lot of pretentious, you know, like Italian chefs who were like, you know,
totally
round spaghetti in a can. You know what I mean? And
maybe
like,
he's sold out, right?
A billionaire. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
I think there had to have been a point. I mean, what types of people, I guess, interest you to not only like write about, but to like talk about, to even enjoy? You said you're a history buff, right?
Yeah.
So like, I guess throughout time, even now, let me phrase a question for now. Like in the present day, like, are there certain people that you're like, wow, I've been following? Let's say like Bill Clinton, for example. Did you know about him before he was in office and all that? Are there people like that you've been following for a while that you're like, wow, to see the full trajectory and like forward progress and backward, you know?
No, I wouldn't say that necessarily, but like I mean, I've followed Mike Lindell's trajectory since day one. Like we do bits about him on the show, James Adomian, you know.
Brilliant.
And like it's always Brian Cook and I who write those bits.
The last one was so good, by the way.
The one just the other day?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah. So that's always just me and Brian Cook. Brilliant. And actually that one had there was another guy, Keaton Patty, who helped us with it too. But yeah, they are so much fun to write because it's just you just really just write the most absurd. That's why I also like enjoy that Boston Corbett character, because he's just so fucking crazy that it's really fascinating.
Those are the best characters.
Yeah.
And even I have some of that fun with doing Dr. Phil, because there's a filter.
Yeah, he has like an absurd way that he talks.
He can say, and Trump is in the same boat. But with Phil and Lindell, it's like these guys are a little bit more like, they're just, I think, a little more sane at this point, clearly. So when they're, at least they come off a little more like, Trump is just all over the place. But Lindell, you can tell, still truly is trying to push his products on you, but it's just so aloof to like the timing of.
Yeah, he's just like the election denier world Charlie Brown. You know what I mean? Like he's just constantly getting the football yanked. You know what I mean? And it's just so adorable. You know what I mean?
His
like
voice.
And you know, because I feel like every other one of those motherfuckers is just a straight up grifter. You know what I mean? Like Steve Bannon knows he's lying to people, and Tucker Carlson, they all know they're lying, and they're just grifting, right? But Mike Lindell, at his core, really genuinely believes that like his toaster came alive and stole the election. You know what I mean? That like the Chinese somehow hacked his toaster and stole votes, and that Donald Trump is the rightful president. Like he believes it at his core, and that's why he's willing to like throw everything away for that. And like so, there's something like kind of lovable about that. I mean, he's very bad for America and very bad for democracy.
Thank God that we've all that it's been like that he's been not.
But I think that's why he works as a character. You know what I mean?
Because it's a brilliant character.
Yeah.
And James's portrayal is so fun.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he's the best. Yeah.
Would you ever want to do a full? I mean, because that's a great like sketch that there's. I mean, have you ever wanted to just do your own? How do you feel about sketch shows in general?
Well, I enjoy doing them on the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, I think that I've yet to see a sketch show that doesn't fire at 66%.
That's what I was asking.
You know what I mean? So it's like 3 out of 5 are like, oh yeah, it's pretty good.
Because why? Because of just the world we live in?
I don't know. I just think it's impossible to sustain. Like, I think you judge sketches one to the next, and you're like, well, that wasn't as good as the last one. Totally. You don't do that with jokes. You know what I mean? Like, you just listen. You are expecting the next joke and whatever. Like, so, and then if there's a sketch on our show, then like, oh, bonus, a sketch. You know what I mean? But if it's like you're watching sketches, it's a 3-minute investment,
right?
And it's like a lot of times it's just hammering the same joke, and they have to have a great payoff, and then you watch the next one, you're like, oh, I don't know, I think I like that one better,
right?
Or like whatever. Yeah. You're just judgy about it. I'm not sure. Nobody's ever asked me that before, but I think that's why it's like harder to sustain for an entire show. Is show around sketches. You know,
I truly feel bad for people that like don't. And I guess we're so deep into this world, but like people that, I don't want to say don't have a sense of humor, but that just miss the mark on like getting the joke, or the people that want to be a part of it, but clearly are just like their sensibilities don't line up with anybody's. I mean,
Donald Trump, like he thinks he's hilarious.
Right.
And he has enablers that make him, that that he thinks he's like, they're like, oh, you're so funny. He's not like his like goofy nicknames. They're fucking lazy. They're incredibly dumb.
So hack.
And
yeah.
like, but he really, and like you go that Huffington Post article I keep bringing up. Like you'll see, like he has crossed out in his like trademark Sharpie punchlines, and then like just added his own, and it's just like. Fucking like there was this like really simple stupid joke that was like about Seth MacFarlane. It was like the only crowd you'll ever draw is with a pencil, right, or whatever. It's a cute like little mind you, it has to be delivered through the fat mouth of Donald Trump, so it can't be like a real fucking crusher. It's gotta whatever. And he changed it to like the only crowd you'll attract is flies or whatever. And it's like, well, now what is that? That's not even a joke. It's just where you say he's a piece of shit, and if you are. You've clunked it up in the you've made it the clunkiest possible. So it's like that where it's like he just fundamentally does not get jokes or understand comedy, and it makes him upset. And that's why he does stuff like he sits in the crowd at the correspondence dinner, and then gets so mad that he runs for president at everyone.
At
like,
everyone.
So
yeah.
So anyway,
are you the funniest dad in your group of dad friends?
Oh, I don't know.
Have you made dads from having kids and guys are like, hey, people say I'm pretty funny, Jesse. Yeah.
No, I mean, I've had that more on like airplanes and with like just random people. Like so far, the like dads in my sphere have actually been pretty chill. Like,
awesome.
Like there's like, and none of them, they all do different things. Like they're not all in the dumb entertainment business,
right.
Like they do a variety of jobs for a living. And like nobody seems particularly impressed with anybody else's job. Because it's Los Angeles, and it's like, it's fine. You know what I mean? So it all works out.
Yes.
So, yeah. And my son's now on a little baseball team. And there is like one guy who's also in comedy. And so it was like, oh, that's cool to have like a...
Yeah.
So like he and I kind of go off and talk a little bit during practice because, just watching them never catch a ball, like that kind of thing. So, because they're 6. Like, they're not good at baseball.
Bro,
so.
Yeah. My nephew's new thing he's 9, is to run up, hit me in the dick, and go, like and subscribe, and then run out of the room.
Oh, is that because something? Is that just the generic? Because he just is indoctrinated by YouTube videos, or is he?
The like and subscribe
is he roasting you specifically?
I think so.
Because you say that because you have podcasts and things.
I think it's more from the first.
Okay.
Of seeing kids say on YouTube like and subscribe. All right. But I'm sure the hitting in the dick. I mean, at our wedding, there must have been 11 people that came up to me the next day and were like, "Your nephew hit me in the dick really hard yesterday."
Just total strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, people at the wedding.
Yeah, no, strangers to him.
Like
to you, I get. He's your own nephew. Like I could see him punching you in the dick all day.
Yeah.
But like to just
one of my
wedding
groomsmen,
guests.
Well,
that's the problem.
Yeah,
that kid needs to
his
be...
dad is a white rapper. My brother-in-law's name is Dirte. Well, his name is Tim, but he's a white rapper named Dirte.
Okay.
So I'm assuming some of the tough exterior and you can't cancel me, I can do what I want, watch your fucking, urethra around me probably comes from having a rapper dad.
Yeah,
I would assume your son with a comic dad is not going to be walking around trying to
he's never
take
punched
away people's ability to have children.
No.
Yeah.
No, he's never punched anybody in the dick as far as I know. But
any reports from school yet? My nephew bites kids at school.
No, they're pretty good kids.
That's
I think.
awesome.
They
yeah, you think, right?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, no. A kid peed on his leg, but I came to find out that was a funny joke. That it was not. I was worried that it was like, oh, is he getting like picked on? But it turns out he was like, that was hilarious. When my buddy peed on my leg, you know what I mean? Like they were in the bathroom and then I did that too. I didn't pee on anybody else, but I remember I would argue this is maybe my first joke ever.
Please.
I was like, it had to be same age. I had to be in like kindergarten or first grade, and we all had to change for gym class. And there was a folding chair in the bathroom, and I made a big scene of like, watch everybody, I'm going to pee into the urinal from the folding chair, like fully knowing. And everybody was like absurd because I was like way across the room.
Yeah.
And I just peed like directly on the floor, you know what I mean? And it was like, ta-da,
wow.
and everybody was
standing
thought it was hilarious. And then there was this day is always, I've never really been able to piece this together, like the motivation of this. There was like an 8th grader who at the time seemed huge to me. You know what I mean? He seemed like a real authority figure. Yeah. But you've seen 8th graders, they're 11. You know what I mean? Like they're not authority figures
at all.
Or whatever they are, 14. I don't know how old 8th graders are. But
14,
the point is that this kid came in and he was like, get down from there. And then he grabbed me by the arm. He took me to the principal's office. It was like, why would this 8th grader do that?
Citizens arrest?
Yeah. Like he citizens arrested me in grade school. And he took me to the principal. And I think that this kid, the sense I've, it's hard to piece together how it really happened because through my tiny kid brain. But I think that the principal was like, oh, it's fucking Marcus again with another kid to report. You know what I mean? Like, so they were too busy. They didn't have time. So he like had me stand outside. And he's like, I'm talking to the principal. And then he was like, well, she's busy, but like next time or whatever, like that. Gave me a little speech.
Who's this? Where's this kid?
I don't know. I didn't remember his name.
It was
I
Mitch
don't remember
McConnell,
anything
wasn't
about
it?
him. But
Yeah.
but it was like the craziest. So, but then I finally came back to class, and I was like kind of a hero because I pissed around the floor, and everybody thought it was funny. And then like also I got sent to the principal's office, and I was back. You know what I mean? Like I busted out.
Came back unscathed.
Yeah. I also realized that at Valentine's Day, to say you had a heart on was very funny. And I used to say that. I used to get laughs out of that when I was real small.
You were the jokester.
So, yeah.
Class clown?
No. You know what I love? There's a Billy Crystal. Have you ever heard that Billy Crystal?
No.
He has a quote that people have asked him, like, hey, were you the class clown? He's like, no, the class clown's the guy who, like, would streak naked across the 50-yard line and steal the football at the homecoming game. And the class comedian's the guy who was like, hey, you know what'd be funny if you did? You know, like the guy who, like, talked him into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I was, like, kind of more that guy. Like,
Cool.
there were, like, louder... I know me starting out leading with I pissed on the floor makes it seem like I was a real Jim Carrey type. I can see why you would say that. I led this astray. But no, I was more like the thoughtful joke guy, sort of.
Cool.
And but there were definitely like loud morons who were the class clown types.
Did you make teachers laugh?
Yeah, like teachers liked me because
Yeah.
they thought I was like kind of funny and smart. And
Man, what a
whatever,
gift.
so,
I mean,
yeah.
the amount of grades I think I salvaged by doing funny shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
and
too?
just, oh
Yeah.
my God, yeah. I would always convince the teachers to do a video, whether it was Spanish, like for some project, or book reports in freshman year of high school. When we were doing
you
them.
could do
I
like
wouldn't
a
read
video.
the. Oh yeah, I
Right.
wouldn't read the book. I'd read the back of it.
Right.
And then one was called Summer of the Monkeys, and I read the back,
Okay.
and then did a fake like late night show where I had on Jonathan Taylor Thomas that played the kid who went to some jungle and befriended these monkeys. And I go, I think we have a clip of it. It was my buddy in the backyard, and he opens these bushes, and then he turns back, and he goes, I found the monkeys. And then it cuts back to me, and I go, man, I can't wait to see that, John. I go, dude, what's Tim Allen like? And I mean, the whole thing was,
Right.
but I mean, he's wearing this shitty wig.
Well, it
but
shows that you were creative and whatever
Yeah.
else, and like
always a B.
that. Yeah.
Never an A. I mean,
Okay.
it was in camera editing, so
Sure.
like there was,
Yeah.
it was you'd hear like, okay, and go,
Right.
Or, fuck, dude, like it was all
Right.
over the place, but got laughs in the room,
Sure.
and the teacher's just like, all right, funny and like enough laughs to be able to pass, and
Yeah.
then some.
Mr. Custrin, God rest his soul, was my trigonometry teacher. And I did pretty well in school, but I got a 30% in trigonometry senior year. 30%. Like, that's not even a letter. It's really bad. Like,
what do
I
you
was,
do? What do you write
Well,
on
I was
that?
like so shitty at math. Like, and I didn't care about it. And I didn't like it. And I like decided like, fuck math. Like, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, but I wasn't like an asshole. I just was like, I'm not
gonna
gonna
do
get
this.
this.
I
Like,
know.
yeah. So, it was like the end of the year. It was like that would have kept me from graduating, right? If I got 30% in one of the things. And so I like had a meeting with Mr. Custrin. I was like, hey, I'm gonna be a stand-up comedian, and like if you see any reason why I would need trigonometry, then fine. But if you don't, and I like kind of had a whole presentation. I like showed like clips of. No, I didn't show clips, but I like talked about various comedians and that I like and how they don't use trigonometry.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And I was like, so if you could see your way to not giving me a 30%. Then letting me graduate. Then when I am a headliner, I'll invite you to the Pittsburgh Funny Bone, and you can sit or whatever. Whatever, some bullshit. I promised some tickets to a show that I wasn't even booked on. I hadn't even done stand up yet at that point. And he gave me a B. I talked my way from a 30% to a fucking like 85 to a
Holy
solid B.
shit.
And I graduated with a solid B in trigonometry. And then sure enough, and then I did. I kept true my like. Eventually,
No.
then I ended up doing stand-up professionally and became a headliner, and I did reach out to old ass Mr. Custrin, and he did come to the show.
Get the
And,
fuck
yeah, it was cool.
out of here,
So,
man.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a cool thing that he did, and I feel like he was like the greater path here is like, yes, clearly this kid is not going to use trigonometry.
Yes.
and like whatever, like it would.
Who am I to hold him back?
Yeah, it would be better. Like whatever I ended up working out is like, oh yeah, like he doesn't need trigonometry. So
Did you give him a shout out during the show? Or
I
anything?
sure did. I told the whole story. Yeah. So
That's
and,
bonkers,
well, I
dude.
told the story. I was inducted into my high school Hall of Fame because clearly
Very
there's
cool.
not a lot of famous people who went to my high school.
Are there?
No, they're not. There's very few.
Also,
but,
you've done some pretty cool shit, so like it's not.
Well, I told the story at that too, and like because it was like I wouldn't have graduated if it weren't for Mr. Custrin.
Wow,
So
dude.
anyway, yeah. How about
That's
that?
incredible. Was Pittsburgh before we wrap this up? Was Pittsburgh? I don't know
A good comedy town. Is that
yeah,
where you're going with this?
yeah, and like I don't know your influences or where'd you, I guess from people that your folks maybe showed you, or who did? Was there?
Oh
a
no, my
comic?
parents are not stand-up people. My parents are like opera people. Like they would never have set foot in a comedy club.
Wow.
If it weren't for the fact that I did stand-up for a living.
Wow.
So they're not. It's not their thing.
How do
they
opera
like,
people view comedy?
Well, they like are proud of me and whatever, and like they like really like the book. They're like, "Oh, that was very funny," you know what I mean? And like they'll watch Kimmel because they like they'll still think that's funny and whatever, but they're not like whatever. They think I'm crude sometimes, you know what I mean? Like that kind of a vibe.
Sure.
But yeah, actually, there's one time I talked my parents into taking me to a comedy club. I think this is a fun story. It was in Nags Head, North Carolina, and I was like 9, and my brother would have been 7, and we went to like on vacation, and they had like it was the 80s, so they had like a stand-up night in like every fucking like tourist hotel or whatever. And so I was like, well, that's the thing I want to do this week is that. And my parents, because they would have never been to it, and so they were like, sure, I suppose. Like they had no idea what it was or whatever. So we went and we sat there, and all I remember is there was like we sat down and there was like a female comedian, and she started doing some sex joke, and my dad was like, we're out of here, right? And like grabbed us and like made us leave. And I was like mortified because like I knew whatever it was, I'm not supposed to be hearing this, but I just wanted to see how it worked, you know, like to be in the room.
Yeah.
And so we left and we went, and there was like a mean old lady smoking cigarettes, and she was wearing a red dress, and my dad was like, we would like our money back. The show just started. And she goes, you brought a 7- and a 9-year-old to a comedy club. You're not getting your money back. You're a fucking idiot. That's what she said. So she called my dad like a fucking idiot in front of his children. And that was like the first time that had ever happened. So it like ruined the night. Like my dad was furious. Everybody was mad at each other. I was mad at them because I just wanted to see the show.
Yeah.
Like everybody else was mad because like, my dad was stewing because he got this lady called him an idiot. So anyway, then I'm a professional comedian and like fucking whatever, like 25 years. I get booked in Nags Head and I show up at this place. I'm like, this feels so familiar to me. And then when I see the owner of the club, I'm like, oh my God, it's the lady in the red dress. Like it was the same fucking lady, Anita Fletcher. She's smoking a cigarette.
No fucking way.
And I was like, you're never going to believe this. Like you probably won't remember this. I'm sure you won't. But I came here when I was 9 and I told her the whole story. And you called my dad a fucking idiot. And she was like, well, your dad brought a child into a comedy club. He was a fucking idiot.
Oh, my
God.
God.
Like, she did it twice.
Doubles down.
She did it again. 20 years later, she called my dad an idiot twice. I was like, yeah. So I called my dad. I was like, hey, remember that lady? She called you a fucking idiot again.
Anita Fletcher, is that her name?
That was her name, yeah. So it was just like dumb little like one-nighters and stuff around
Yeah, of
Nags
course.
Head. This was years and years
Those
ago.
hotel basement shows are always, I mean, fuck, I did a bunch of them out here.
Yeah. So
they're always, I don't know, there's those types of shows too are always imperative to the comedy world because you just need, they're just, I don't know. Also, any place where there's a makeshift stage and set up and people are trying, like, I mean, it's, not everybody gets to start off at the great clubs, but.
Yeah, no, but it was like, they were like road gigs to me. They were like,
totally.
so it was really fun at the time, but like, yeah. But anyway, Pittsburgh's not like a breeding ground for a lot of.
Okay.
But I can tell you who does it professionally.
Billy Gardell was out there when you were probably.
He kind of, I think, did more stand-up out here, but he's from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Same with Jesselnick. He didn't really do stand-up in Pittsburgh, but he's from there. But the guys that came out of Pittsburgh were Dennis Miller and Mario Joyner.
Wow.
And Eddie Ift and Steve Byrne. And then I started.
Yep.
And then those guys. And that's it. That's pretty much the entire Pittsburgh comedy scene. Wow. So, yeah.
They claim you, though.
Yeah, I haven't been back in a while because I started out at the Pittsburgh Funny Bone and that club doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But it was like notoriously like shittily run and whatever.
Oh, really?
It was like the original Funny Bone, but then it kind of like they were like the people like that like stereotype in the 80s where people paid people in cocaine.
Yeah.
Like that was the Pittsburgh Funny Bone.
Gotcha.
Jerry, there was Bill Gates. See, I told you,
Gates
I'm on like the QAnon desk, so like his name is like in my head all the time, So no, Bill Hicks had that Flying Saucer Tour album.
Yeah.
That was like the one where he bombs for an hour. That was the Pittsburgh Funny Bone.
Wow.
And in it, he says right up there, they'll pay you cocaine. Like at one point, he says that, and like fucking,
and
like narked on them. Yeah, exactly.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
All right. Before we close this out with a little 10-question questionnaire, James Lipton style, I need you to tell people one more time where they can get the book.
Yeah. So it's on Scribd, SCRIBD, and if you go to try.scribd.com/Jesse Joyce, the book is called "Killing the Guys Who Killed the Guy Who Killed Lincoln: A Nutty Story About Edwin Booth and Boston Corbett," and you can get it there, and you can read the ebook or you can listen to the audiobook
with the code.
Just try.scribd.com/Jesse Joyce.
Okay,
and then
Jesse
it'll
Joyce.
have a link that you can go to from there. So
can't wait.
Then you can follow me at Jesse Joyce or Jesse Joyce 1 on Instagram.
All right, we're going to close this out. I'm going to play James Lipton, R.I.P. You no doubt be on the show at some point, so I'm going to close this out with 10 questions to get to know Jesse Joyce a little bit better. I'm Lipton. You're Jesse. Here we go.
Okay.
I'm here with Jesse Joyce. Jesse, what is your favorite word?
God, I feel like probably fuck because, I mean, it's in my book a lot.
What is your least favorite word?
Boy, I wasn't prepared for this, but
there's no wrong answer.
Yeah, no, I know, but still, Trump.
What turns you on? Sexual or not? Matthew McConaughey said kindness.
Oh, he did?
And I said gay.
Yeah, that's silly. What turns me on? History, dorkery, taxidermy. How about that?
Yeah.
It's so weird. That makes me sound like a serial killer. I collect taxidermy.
Do you really?
I do, yeah.
Wow.
And I feel like it gets a bad rap in television and movies.
What
it's always the guy who ends up being the serial killer is the guy with all the
do you have, like,
taxidermy.
deers or, like, squirrels?
No, like exotic shit. Like, I'm not going to have deers. And like,
Yeah.
Like, I have a bear and a lion, and I have, what else? A coatimundi. I have a wallaby. I have all kinds of cool shit.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, go on. That's not part of this.
What turns you off?
Willful stupidity. Like people. I'm doing this wrong, right? Because I'm expounding into a whole
this is
sentence.
perfect.
It's like a turn off because it's not. But when I go, people spouting misinformation to their children at zoos, right? Because you're at the zoo with your kids, and then somebody will just go like, "What is that? A bear?" You know what I mean? And it's like, no, it's not a bear. It's a
Read the fucking the spiel they got.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
People at the zoo, more often than not, want to act like they know more than the people that work at the zoo.
Oh
I
yeah,
hear
but
people
it's
making
just
up
they
facts
just
all the
willfully.
time.
Yeah, there's like a sign right there, and there's like, what kind of bear is that? It's like it's a binturong. It says right there what it is. Like whatever.
Literally
they just
take
don't.
2 seconds and look down.
Yeah.
What is your favorite curse word? You said fuck, but do you have another?
Oh, I'm gonna keep because it's the best word.
Fuck is the best.
Yeah.
Did you hit the F hard, or you kind of finish?
Fucking like I kind of just I'll use it like in all sorts of like it's an adjective sometimes. You know, like
it really is great.
Kind of
If you heard your son say fuck at 6, would you laugh?
I wouldn't laugh. I would hold it together, but I wouldn't make a giant deal out of it.
Like I guess if he was like, "Where's my fucking mac and cheese?" or if he drops his
if
mac
he did
and cheese
that,
and goes, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, those are two different. Yeah, like right. Both of them I know he would have gotten from me. You know what I mean? Like, but so I can't be that mad because it's like, well, this is my fault that he did that.
He's emulating
you know what I mean?
Pops. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What sound or noise do you love?
These are absurd. These are absurd questions.
Well, this was Lipton.
Yeah.
This is how Lipton closed out the Actor Studio.
Yeah. I like New York City traffic.
Oof, good answer.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you hate?
I'm not good at this. These quick questions. I don't know. What sound do I hate?
Yeah, Pacino had these in advance.
Yeah. Oh, did he?
I'm sure they did.
Sure.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay. The start of a Christopher Walken impression. Whoa, like that. I hate that.
My
when somebody's about to launch into that, I hate that.
What?
Like that. Like because it's like
Time.
you're in for several minutes of something that's not funny and overdone.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Honestly, yeah, historian or nature documentarian.
Love that. What profession would you not like to do?
Mortician. Like I can't imagine having to muster the give a fuck every time.
Yep.
Like you have to have your foot on the gas with sincerity every single day.
Yeah.
And every single day more people's moms die.
Yeah.
And you have to like bring the same level of like, I'm very upset about it. You don't care.
No,
you know what I
you
mean?
don't.
It's your job.
You get numb after
but
a while.
You must like bring that fucking enthusiasm is the wrong word, but that
it's the right word. You gotta care about them.
You have to pretend to care on a level that's like absurd.
Almost
like,
be excited to help. Like,
sorry,
but like, man, you're in such good hands. I'm like, we're gonna,
and it's just waves crashing. There's always a new person, and you have to just keep like, oh, I'm so sorry,
every day.
like,
and also looking at so many dead
and then
bodies.
like, and then they leave, and then you have to go back to your cell phone. You know what I mean? Like, like you have shit to do.
Dude, sending animal attack videos.
Yeah, you got to order from Costco. You know what I mean? And then like in the middle, somebody else just lost their mom, and you got to fucking pretend to, you know.
Do you think there's a guy out there that's like, they're coming in and they're just crying, and he's like, I'm sorry, just my postman's got the wrong address.
Yeah,
1 second.
Exactly. No, you can't do that at all.
I'll be outside.
You have to immediately put it down. Just be like, I'm so like, but that's what you want to be doing because it's your job.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. All right, that sucks. Last one. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh God, this is so dumb. This is so dumb.
Real question.
James Lipton's not here. That's what I would want to hear him say. Good news, James Lipton isn't here.
Wow. Jesse Joyce, ladies and gentlemen, go get the book. Watch Kimmel every night.
Thank you.
I love you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.